Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, my name is Tanisha and I love taking you along on my reading journey. And in today's video I'm going to read from my physical TBR all week, and I'm going to tell you how many pages I read, because the last time I did this was last summer when I was working full-time. Right now I'm still healing from my burnout, so I'm only working 14 hours a week, and I do have school but not as many hours as normally. So I thought it would be fun to show you a realistic how much do I read in a week vlog, but realistic for me right now. In my opinion, it hasn't been affecting my reading that much, because I tend to still only read on times where I would normally also be able to read if I were to go to work all day or if I had school all day. So I still find myself reading mostly in the evenings and in the weekends. So we'll see how this week is going. It is Tuesday right now because I forgot to film the intro yesterday, but I did read. I started Before the Coffee Gets Cold, which is one of my foreign books that I have on my physical TBR. This book is originally written in Japanese and I'm reading the English translation because I sadly enough don't read Japanese. So I started this book yesterday and I managed to read 211 pages. And if I'm telling you that I've read 212 pages, it might sound like I've read a bunch of hours yesterday, but this book is just so easy written. I think I read for about 2.5 hours and I managed to read this much, which is crazy, but this book is so entertaining. It is about a cafe and you can go there if you want to travel back in time. All you have to do is sit in this specific spot and drink a certain type of coffee, and you have to be done with being in the past before the coffee gets cold. So this book follows 4 different people who travel to this cafe to meet with some person in the past, and they can't change the present with what they do in the past, but they get to speak to a certain person again, or, rekindle, make up a fight. I thought I would just read the synopsis because that is more accurate than my scattered brain. In a small back alley of Tokyo, there is a cafe that has been serving carefully brewed coffee for more than 100 years. Local legends say that this shop offers something else besides coffee: the chance to travel back in time. Over the course of one summer, 4 customers visit the cafe in the hopes of making that journey. But time travel isn't so easy, and there are rules that must be followed. Most important, the trip can last only as long as it takes for the coffee to get cold. As I said, I read until page 211 yesterday, so I read the first 3 short stories. I think they are short stories because it's not like it is one big story. You follow 4 different people, but you follow one person and they go in the past and you read about what they experience, and then you go to the next chapter and follow a completely different person, and the persons don't meet each other or as far as I know don't interact with each other. So it really feels like I'm reading 4 short stories instead of one big story. But I have been enjoying myself very much, so I can't wait to read the rest of this book. I'm probably going to finish it because I only have 80-ish pages left, so I'm for sure going to finish this book, and then I'm going to start What You Are Looking For is at the library, because that is one of my other Japanese books that I have on my physical TBR, and I'm kind of in the foreign books vibes. So yeah, grab a drink and watch me read all week. I finished Before the Coffee Gets Cold about 30 minutes ago. I ended up giving this book 4.5 stars. The stories were very interesting. I was entertained reading from every single character. I wish the stories were a little bit longer, so that's why I didn't give it the 5 stars. I read this book in under 3 hours. Of course, I started it yesterday, but I didn't read for more than 3 hours in total. And that's just because the stories were very short, so they could have been fleshed out more, in my opinion. But I really liked it. There is one character in this book that really intrigued me, but she didn't get much screen time. She was very much a background character, but I was so intrigued by her, and I hope that she gets more page time in the next book. But I don't know what the next book is about, so I'm not going to hope too much. But yeah, a solid 4.5 stars. Really enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to read the rest of the books, even though I don't have them in my physical TBR, but I might buy them sometime in the future. After finishing Before the Coffee Gets Cold, I started What You're Looking For Is in the Library. I got this book last year for my birthday and I started it immediately. I think I got 100 pages in, but then I got into a reading slump, so I soft DNF'd the book and didn't touch it for over a year. So I decided to start over. I just read the first 50 pages and I'm very glad that I started over, because I didn't really remember anything about the book. In this book, you follow 5 different people. As far as I know, they don't interact with each other. Yeah, each chapter is a different story of someone who is struggling with something in their life. They go to the library and the librarian recommends them a book that will change their life. So the first story I just read was about a woman who works in a retail store and she feels like she doesn't have any skills. She wants to get an office job, but she doesn't know how to work Excel, so she decides to go to the library to learn about how to work with Excel. And because of that, the librarian gave her books about Excel, but also about something else that she might need to learn. And her entire life changed after that. And I'm pretty sure every single story is going to be similar, where a character is struggling with something, they get a book that they're not exactly asking for, but that they might need to change their life and to achieve their dreams, which sounds so interesting to me, and I wish I had a librarian like that in my life. But sadly, life is not like that, so I just have to read about my dreams, I guess. So yeah, I'm 50 pages in. I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm not done reading yet, so I'm still adding up my pages for today, but I think I will talk to you tomorrow. It's Thursday right now and I didn't read anything yesterday, so that's why I didn't update you. I'm currently reading What You're Looking For Is at the Library. This is what it looks like without the dust jacket. Gorgeous, gorgeous color. I'm currently at page 85 of the book, and one thing that popped into my mind that I really want to talk to you about is that this book really gives me the same feeling as all those butterfly effect TikToks and reels that are going around right now. I don't know if it's just my algorithm or if it's a thing that a lot of people are experiencing right now, but I see a bunch of TikToks where people are like, butterfly effect is so crazy. If I didn't do X, Y, and Z, I never met my husband, or if I didn't do X, Y, and Z, I never was able to achieve this dream that I have. And this book is basically the same. These people would not have been able to achieve their dreams if they didn't go to this community center. Because I'm reading the second story right now, and the main character that I'm following going wasn't even planning on going to the library. They were planning on going to the community center, and they happened to stumble upon the library that was in the same building. And that's why they caught a specific book, and that's why they are realizing now that their dreams are much closer than they always thought. So that's just a very fun theme in this book, and it also always reminds me that every single step that you take, every single choice that you make will lead you to a place bigger and possibly better. And that's also why you should never regret mundane things that you do. Obviously, if you're doing a horrible thing, you should feel regret, but most of the time people feel regret for things that are just so mundane, like picking the wrong studies when they first go to college, or going to work at an office that end up not being their fit. And of course, it is sad that you have to restart with studies, or that you have to apply to a new job and start over, but you still learn from those experiences, so regretting them is just silly. And that's what people should remember. I'm going to continue reading because I'm having a lot of fun, and I will just talk to you when I have more thoughts. The librarian is felting things, which is basically poking a needle into wool. At least that is what I think it is, according to the descriptions. But one of the quotes that the librarian said is so good and also fitting to that I talked about earlier. I wanted to read it to you. The good thing about felting is that you can start again halfway through. Even after your project began to take shape, you can easily change direction along the way if you feel that you want to make something different after all. So she's basically saying what I was saying earlier, that you don't really have to regret any of your decisions, because you can always change direction even if your project is already taking shape. So yeah, that was a quote from page 116. I finished What You're Looking For is in the library. As you saw in the clips before this, I was at school all day and I was working on my assignments, and every time I took a 5 or 10 minute break, I would read this book, and I actually enjoyed it. I got a lot of shit done, but I also managed to make some progress in this book. That's normally how I would read books. I don't always have time to sit down and read for hours on end, but I always have those 10 or 15 minute time spans where I have nothing to do or when I'm waiting on something, and that's most of the time when I read. I don't know if I told you already, but it is Friday right now, and it's actually the last day for this video. I don't remember if I said at the beginning of the video how long I was going to film this for. I know I said a week, but with a week I meant Monday to Friday, so it was more like a how much do I read during the work week video. So that's why today is the last day. So let me grab my laptop so I can tell you the stats, because I only told you how much pages I read on Monday, but the rest of the week I didn't really update you on the page numbers, so I'm going to get my laptop and tell you. So Monday was the first day I tracked my page count. I started Before the Coffee Gets Cold and I read 211 pages from that book, and on Tuesday I continued the book and finished it, and also started What You're Looking For in the Library, and in total I read 104 pages. On Wednesday I didn't read anything because I had work and then some social things. On Thursday, however, I continued reading this book and I read 110 pages, and today I finished the book and read the last 95 pages. So in total I read 520 pages in 5 days, which is on average about 104-ish pages each day. So those are my stats. I had a lot of fun reading both Before the Coffee Gets Cold and What You're Looking For at the Library. Did I even tell you what I rated this book? I don't think so. Yeah, so I rated this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed all the short stories. I really enjoyed all the characters. I was a little bit hesitant on if I was going to like this book, because every single story was going to be the same, where a character is going to go to the library and get a book, and that book will change their life. But funnily enough, all the stories were just as interesting as the other ones. The background information about the characters and also what they are struggling with is so interesting and relatable to read that it doesn't really matter that the plot stays the same, because this is more of a character-driven story. Obviously, them taking the steps to achieve their dreams is a very big part of the story, but their character and how they are developing as a person is the best part of this book in my opinion. So that's why I gave it 4 stars. I had a lot of fun. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below how much you read normally, and then I will see you in my next video whenever I post it. Bye!